Do we know where the reserves and U team will play next season?
Yes, the reserves are going to play at Brunel. I think that deal has been sorted. The U team, Simon told me where they're going to play, and I can't remember where he said now. I can't remember, but yeah, it's sorted and it's done.
Okay. Our budget normally means you have to delve into lower leagues to pick up potential players and development. An example of this would be Haylock coming from Slough last season, who seems to come on leaps and bounds, especially since the new year. This obviously puts them into the shop window for bigger clubs. How do you feel when players that you have nurtured either from transfers or come through the ranks like Charlie Wasmer move on to these clubs?
That's football. I did it. I went from low level clubs to high level clubs. That's the way it is. If you don't operate at the top level, then you've got to accept that the top level or high levels are going to come and take your players. If you don't like it, don't be involved with football. Not everybody can work at the highest level. I remember a player, I won't remember it, but I won't mention his name, who told me that he didn't like, I sent him out on loan to a team a couple of levels below, and he didn't like playing there because they didn't play the right kind of football and it didn't suit him, so he didn't score goals. And my view was, well, if you can't score goals there, how do you really expect to score goals from me or higher? He said, well, I think it's a different type of football. And he wanted to pick the type of football he played. I said, well, sorry, that's not the way it works. You've got to do it at different levels. If you do it at a lower level, somebody higher will come and take you. You know, Slough Town could be sitting there having this conversation now. We nurtured Elliot Buchanan and then Hayes and Yedden came and nicked him. How do you feel? That's football then. If you don't want to accept that, then go get yourself involved in golf.
How important are the small but dedicated fans we have, both home and away, to the management and the players?
It's always a difficult one because we don't work in, you don't see them every day, there's not that environment. It's great when fans go there, when fans go away especially. And at some grounds this year we've performed very well, got the crowd very quiet, and you can hear the 12 or the 17 or the 19 that have turned up. I think it was Darlington away that the stadium was silent as we passed the ball around, and I think the 12 fans that we had were doing their not. So it's always great to see them. I do on occasion look at the forum and see some of the comments passed, and I think there are certain individuals, as there are in any group, who are begrudging of our success. That's not to say that I would ever tar everybody with the same brush. There are some great supporters out there who follow the team all over the place, spend their money, and some of our performances have been disappointing. The Forest Green performance was a terrible performance with I think 62 people there. People that have travelled a long way to go and support the players, and it's very disappointing when the players don't appreciate that. I think they do. They've always thought that. Obviously, you'd wish that the numbers were higher, but I would always stress that if you're going to be a fan, if you're going to be a supporter, then look at the definition of the word. You support them, and you give them as much help as you can. I've been at clubs in the past where we've been booed off at half time and then cheered at full time, and it's kind of, the players are not stupid. They look at that, and the players read the forum, they hear what the people say about them. We've had some players who had some poor performances earlier on in the season, for whatever circumstances, that get slated, and then when they play well, those same people then say what a great player they are. Players don't respect that. If you've got an opinion, then have that opinion, but stick to that opinion. And don't change it with the wind. That can be, I know I experienced that as a player, and lost respect for certain individuals. But in general, we have a group of supporters who are very passionate. It's not a big group, but their passion means that the players appreciate that.
Some people think that between the last match of the season and the start of pre-season training, you have very little to do and have 2 months holiday. What does the manager do during the closed season, or is it a case of putting up shelves and sitting in the garden until July?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was at Chelmsford last Tuesday, I was at Woking on Wednesday, I was at Farnborough on Sunday, I'll be at Farnborough this Sunday. I've spoken to 4 league managers this morning. I'll be meeting the players as and when. And then you troll the internet. I know that Adrian Petulli has been released by Hereford. I know the other 6 players that have been released by Hereford. I know who Wickham released. I actually knew who Wickham released before the players knew that they were getting released. to do that, you've got to be constantly talking to people. My phone bill is massive, and I'm never off it. And then you might have to drop everything and go and meet somebody. There's a player I'm not going to say there's a player just been released who I've now got to try and meet this evening, because I know he's got somebody else that he's meeting tomorrow, and I want to make sure that I have that conversation with him. So yeah, and when I say to my girlfriend that no, we can't go out tonight, I've got to go meet a player, and she just looks at me and shakes her head, thinks I'm mad. She knows, she dreads the pre-season and the close season, because she knows that I'm busier than during the season.
Coming back to this season, what was your proudest achievement, and similarly, what do you believe was the most disappointing performance?
Most disappointing was Newport away. I felt we gave up before we got off the coach, and yeah, both myself and Gareth went suitably ballistic, and that was the death knell for several players, to be honest. Certain players who subsequently left the club, I've always looked back at that Newport game and gone, no, you don't have to fight for it. Proudest moment in the season, I suppose you look at, there's various different performances. Going to bigger clubs and picking points up. I would say 33 minutes and 34 seconds into the Luton game, and it's still been a clean sheet. Because that was and then finally getting a draw out of that game, in a game that we probably should have won on our performance, given the history surrounding it and the disparity between the two clubs.
In an ideal world, but remaining realistic, what would you like the board to provide you with next season?
An improved budget. An improved budget on last season would allow me to keep the players that I wanted to keep, release some that haven't worked out. I think we signed 19 players at the start of the season, and I was never under the impression that all 19 would be the right decision. You've got to make a decision when you don't really know somebody, and only through working with them can you know them. So there was always going to be, from this group, 5 or 6 go that would release funds under the current budget, and then add a little bit to it. It would have meant I could have kept the core group together and kicked on from there. Under the budget that I've got, that's not going to happen. There's going to be a big changeover in players. The players know that. The board know that. The chairman knows that. Everybody should know that. It's just impossible to do. And there's actually a rule that I only found out yesterday, that I can't actually offer somebody a contract on less money than what they were on last season. So I'm not going to go into individual players, but take player X who was on £100. If I offer him a contract for £90, the league won't accept it. I've actually got to offer him more, so he's got to go on non-contract, which again makes things a little bit more difficult. So yeah, I would like an improved budget, but the circumstances at the club are that can't happen, and again, you accept the circumstances or you walk away, and that's that basically. Okay,
so finally, looking forward, can you just sum up your hopes and expectations for next season?
Next season, staying in this division would be an achievement that would far outweigh getting promoted and staying up over the past 2 combined, to be honest. So if we stay up next season, then I think that will be a superb achievement. Having said that, you ask me again come August, and I'll look at the group that I've got then. But right now, standing here now, staying up next year will be a really good achievement.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
That wasn't bad. And that's